Okay, so you think you know Star Wars, right? I mean, you can quote the Jedi Creed in your sleep and rattle off hyperspace routes like they're nothing.
Well, sure.
But, sometimes I think it's the everyday folks living their lives under the shadow of the Empire. Those stories, those are the ones that really hit you.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's exactly where we're going today for this deep dive. We're talking Bix Caleen from Andor. For me, she just brought so much to that show.
Oh, for sure. I mean, what makes Bix so fascinating is that she's just trying to live her life on Ferrix, under Imperial rule, just trying to get by. It's like through her, we really get a taste of what it was like for regular people during that time, away from all the Senate drama and the big space battles. It's a perspective we don't often see.
Right, exactly. So today we are diving deep into Bix's life on Ferrix. We'll explore her relationships, especially the one with Cassian Andor. It's complicated. And we'll unpack those key moments that really shape her journey. Whether you've watched every Andor episode a dozen times or just kind of curious about this corner of the Star Wars galaxy, we're here to give you a much deeper understanding of her part in Cassian's story and the whole rebellion thing.
Absolutely. Our goal today is simple. Understand Bix Caleen. We'll look at her background, her work, what's up with her and Cassian, and those big events that pull her into this whole rebellion. We'll even talk about the actress who plays her. She's amazing.
So let's start with the basics. Who is Bix Caleen? Well, when we first meet her, she's a human woman living on Ferrix. Pretty rough industrial planet.
Right.
And the Empire's running things. Life there seems tough. Everyone's just scraping by, and Bix is right there with them.
Yeah. Her whole life is tied to Ferrix. She's a super skilled mechanic, and she owns the Caleen Salyard. It's not just a job, it's her family legacy, something she got from her parents, so it's personal,
Oh, definitely.
Her being good with machines isn't just about getting paid, it's about being independent and taking care of herself and her community, especially with the Empire breathing down their necks.
Yeah, that's a great point. And she's not just sitting behind a desk, right?
Right.
She's out there, hands dirty, getting things done. She's described as hardworking, really good with her hands, strong. And she's got this sharp mind that people probably underestimate.
Oh yeah, she's not someone you want to mess with. And when things get tough, she takes charge.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's Cassian, Tim, or even the Empire later on, she steps up and makes tough calls. It shows you how tough people have to be under that kind of rule. Just taking initiative is almost like rebelling a little bit,
Yeah, I see what you mean. Now, let's talk about the big one. Her relationship with Cassian Andor.
Yeah.
Now, that is messy. I mean, their history goes way back, childhood friends. And there are hints that they had this on-again, off-again romantic thing.
Right.
But there's also this feeling that something happened between them, something big.
Yeah, you can tell. They're close, but it's also clear that a real romantic relationship is out of the question. They even say in the show that Cassian burned every bridge with her.
Right, strong words.
Do we know what he did? I mean, what kind of betrayal would cause that much damage, and how does that affect Bix's willingness to still help him with business?
That's a great question. They don't really spell it out, but you get the sense it was something serious.
Yeah.
Like a defining moment that really broke things between them. But what's interesting is that even with the romantic stuff out the window, they're still connected. Through their past, sure, but also through business. There's this practicality there, this underlying trust, even with all the baggage.
Yeah. And this is where the Year 5 BBY comes in. Now, for those who aren't super into Star Wars timelines, that's 5 years before the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope.
Yeah.
So this is all happening right as the rebellion is starting to take shape. Cassian shows up on Ferrix, and he needs Bix's help, urgently. He's got this NS9 Star Path unit, super valuable, can't be traced, and he wants to sell it. That's what kicks off this whole story.
And Bix, she's a smart businesswoman. She's got her system. She usually waits until she's got a bunch of stuff to sell before she contacts her buyer. So when Cassian comes in with this one super sensitive piece of tech, it sets off all kinds of alarms for her.
Makes sense.
Right.
She even mentions this TAC Corvette that's coming in for salvage, which has these valuable Imperial targeting units that gives you an idea of what she normally deals with, this Star Path unit from Cassian. It's way out of the ordinary.
Totally. And there's so much tension around this thing. Bix keeps asking Cassian how long he's had it, and you can tell she thinks he's been hiding it. Maybe even got it through shady means. And that could put her whole network at risk.
It really shows how well they know each other, but also how much trust has been broken. Bix even offers to buy the unit herself, which tells you she's trying to get control of the situation before it blows up.
But Cassian shuts her down. He says he needs all the money, won't share any of the profit, And that just makes Bix even more worried that something's really wrong.
Yeah. And then, right when things are getting heated, Tim Carlo walks in. He asks Bix about some salvage job on Wabani. Seems like a small thing, but it actually introduces us to this whole other important relationship in Bix's life.
Tim Carlo, right. He's Bix's boyfriend, works there at the salvage yard. Cassian sees them together, so naturally he asks about it.
Yeah. And Bix gets super defensive. She throws it back at Cassian, like, I never pry into your life. But she does tell him that Carlo has no idea about her side hustle, all her black market deals.
It's fascinating how she manages to keep these parts of her life separate. This open relationship with Tim, but then this whole secret, dangerous world she's involved in. That's how you survive on a planet like Ferrix, I guess.
It's essential, right? And it leads us right to her black market connections. I mean, it's obvious Bix has built up a reputation in this underworld. When she talks about running errands, she's really going to meet with her buyer. She's good at what she does, careful.
Yeah.
But it's risky.
Oh, definitely. And she has this very specific way of contacting her buyer. She goes to Rapak Salyard, where Salman Puck and his son Wilman work, and she uses this code phrase, Bendine Mesh Tech Filter.
Right.
To talk to her contact through this junction box. It's like a spy movie happening right there on Ferrix.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, what do you think that code phrase tells us?
It screams secrecy, danger. They're under imperial rule, remember. Using a code phrase that sounds totally normal, meeting in secret, it means they could get caught at any moment.
Right.
The stakes are high.
Yeah. And then things really change when Bix's buyer actually shows up. She tells Cassian he's on his way to Ferrix. This is Luthen Rail, of course. But Cassian doesn't know who he really is or about his ties to the rebellion.
Not yet.
Right. But at the same time, Bix sees this Primor bulletin, basically a wanted poster.
Oh, yeah.
For a Canary man who looks just like Cassian. And that throws a huge wrench into things. What's really smart is that Bix notices something's off with Cassian's records. The bulletin says he's from Canary, which she knows is true. But his Imperial prison record says he's from Thest. She knows he's hiding his past, trying to be someone else.
It shows you how sharp she is. She knows Cassian, through and through. And she recognizes the danger this poses. She even talks to Luthen about it.
But then things get even worse. Tim Carlo, he starts getting jealous. He sees Bix and Cassian meeting at the bar. And he's insecure, thinks they're getting back together.
Oh, yeah.
And he makes a terrible mistake.
Uh-oh.
He's drunk, and he calls the Primor authorities. Tells them Cassian's on Ferrix. It's an impulsive decision that has really tragic consequences.
Wow.
Bix doesn't know about it until Salman Pack tells her that the Corpos, the Primor security forces, are raiding Marva's house looking for Cassian. That's when it hits her.
Oh, man.
She realizes what Carlo's done. The confrontation between Bix and Carlo is intense. She sees how badly he's betrayed her, not just Cassian, but their whole community.
It's a turning point, isn't it?
It is. She tries to warn Cassian, but the Primor catches her. They're brutal. They slam her against a wall, tie her up, and then right in front of her, they shoot and kill Carlo when he tries to defend her. It's a horrific scene, Really shows you the personal cost of this conflict and how Bix's life is forever changed in that one moment.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
She's left with nothing but pain and grief.
Right.
So what happens next?
Well, time passes, and Cassian actually does come back to Ferrix briefly after the Aldani heist.
Oh, right.
Their reunion at the salvage yard is strained. There's so much unsaid between them, so much hurt.
It's heavy. You can just feel it.
Yeah. Bix is clearly injured, but she tries to downplay it just as she ran into a wall. But you can see the truth in her eyes, She's been through hell.
Right.
And the people on Ferrix, they're blaming Cassian for what happened.
It makes sense. I mean, he brought the Empire down on them.
Exactly. But even with all that tension, Cassian's still trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
He asks Bix about Rail, but she doesn't know much. Probably Rail keeping things close to the vest,
Yeah, for his own safety.
Right. Before Cassian leaves again, he asks Bix to pass a message on to Rail, like he's hoping for something, maybe a connection down the line.
Right.
But even after he's gone, Bix is still stuck on Ferrix, and the Empire's grip is getting tighter.
Oh, yeah. Things are about to get even worse for her, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
And she starts to worry about Marva, Cassian's adoptive mother. Marva's not doing well, and she's starting to act out a little, like trying to get into the tunnel under the Hotel Rix.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Bix talks to Brasso about it, how worried she is. It shows you how much they all care about each other.
It's like a family.
It is. And Bix still hopes to hear from Cassian. She tries to reach Rail, but nothing. It's too dangerous to communicate now.
Right, all right.
And then Salman Pack, Bix's contact at Rapak Salyard, He gets arrested. The Empire tortures him. It really shakes Bix up. Paik was more than just her link to the black market. He was a friend.
Yeah, part of the community.
And then they come for Bix.
Oh, no.
Dedra Miro from the ISB, she's the one who interrogates Bix.
She's terrifying.
She is. And they bring in this guy, Dr. Gorst. He's got these awful torture methods, something about Disneyite screams. It's horrifying.
Ugh, yeah, I remember that. It's rough.
Bix eventually breaks down and tells him some things, but she never gives up Luthen Rael's name. Even under torture, she's loyal.
It's incredible.
It is. But she's still a prisoner, traumatized. And we learned that Anto Krieger, another one of Rael's people, has been killed.
The Empire's really cracking down.
Yeah. And then Marva dies.
Oh, no.
And on Ferrix, they have this tradition, bricking. They cremate the body and put the ashes in a brick that goes into this memorial wall. It's really powerful. Shows their connection to each other, to their past.
Yeah.
And the ISB, they know how close Cassian was to Marva. So they let the funeral go ahead, figuring it'll draw him back to Ferrix.
Which it does.
It does. And when he gets there, he hears about Bix. She's still a prisoner. So he goes to rescue her from the hotel, which the ISB is using as their headquarters now.
It's a bold move.
It is, and it's tense. Cassian gets to Bix, they fight their way out. Brasso, Pegla, Jezzy, Beatty Omo, Willman, they all help. It's the whole community coming together to save one of their own.
It's amazing.
They escape on a stolen ship, and Bix, she's weak, still hurting, but she tells Cassian he'll find them again. It shows you that even after everything, that connection between them is still there.
It's powerful.
It is. Now we should talk about the woman who plays Bix. Adria Arjona, she's so good. You might recognize her from other stuff like Good Omens and Emerald City.
Oh yeah, she's great.
She really brings Bix to life. She shows her strength, but also her vulnerability, her intelligence. You believe her.
Absolutely.
Adria Arjona has said that she sees Bix as this hardworking, complex character, good with machines, strong, smart. She really got Bix, you know? Yeah. And it's worth pointing out that Bix Caleen was created just for Andor. She's not from any of the other Star Wars stuff.
Right.
So the writers had a lot of freedom with her story. Her first appearance is in the very first episode, Cassa. Right away, you know she's important to Cassian.
So wrapping things up here, it's clear Bix Caleen is way more than just a side character in Cassian Andor's story.
Oh.
She's strong, resourceful, her relationships are complicated, she's caught up in the early days of the rebellion, and she suffers a lot because of it.
Yeah.
Her role in Cassian's journey is huge.
Absolutely.
She's a reminder of his past, his life on Ferrix. And he clearly cares about her a lot, even though the romantic thing is over. And the way the Empire treats her, it shows you just how cruel they are, how much people suffer because of them.
It makes you think.
It does. It makes you think about all the people like Bix on planets like Ferrix, their small acts of rebellion, their loyalty, the sacrifices they made. How did all of that lead to the bigger rebellion against the Empire? Even after she's gone from Ferrix, her story shows us the courage of ordinary people fighting for freedom. It's those unseen battles that make all the difference.
I think you're right. It really makes you appreciate how big movements start with small acts of resistance, you know, from people like Bix all over the galaxy.